You know, it was so interesting. I was just thinking about it. A while back, I was in a think tank type of situation, and it was people from all walks of life there, rich, poor, middle class, liberal, conservative, medium. It was amazing. It was just people from everywhere, and our thing was we were to get into groups, not by, they picked us by random. So each group had a little bit of everybody in it. It was very interesting, and I enjoyed it very much. And it was basically, it opened my eyes to a lot, that we want the same thing, we just view it differently. And let me tell you the situation. So we were in there, and they were talking about schools. We were talking about freedom, free, but in the concept of school. And so when they gave us a list of different policies, whether, some of them were true, some of them were in progress and things of that nature. And for instance, it was talking about a choice similar to the government would basically have full control over what was being taught and what was going on, but you didn't have to pay out of pocket. Or it was a choice of, there were like 4 different options mixed up and different things of that nature. Then you also had one where you could homeschool, private school, public school, your choice, but a certain portion of it would come out of your pocket. Not the whole thing, but like a certain portion would come out of your pocket, or, different scenarios of that situation. And what we were told to discuss which one, put in order, which one was the most free to the least free. And this is where it got interesting, because it made me understand that we think of free in 2 different ways. And, they started with their thing and they were putting it in order and stuff. And I said, they were talking about freedom of choice, because that's what we were talking about initially before this scenario kicked off. We were talking about freedom of choice. And then they brought up freedom of choice in school. So then I said, no, they're talking about freedom of choice. So then I rearranged it to where it was freedom of choice. And then one of the girls goes, she was, very liberal, very, very liberal. And she goes, oh, I never even thought of that. And it blew my mind, like, freedom of your choice didn't cross your mind. It was just because they were talking about, oh, well, this is free. You won't have to pay for this and you won't have to pay for that. And it kind of was like, wow, we think of free as 2 totally different things. It was, and that's something that they acknowledged. They were like, I never thought of, when someone says free, I never thought of freedom of choice. And it made them think, because later on, one of the ladies got up and she was just like, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity, because it really opened up my eyes to a lot. And same thing for me. It opened, because I feel like if we understand each other, we can get a lot more done. And, we can see from each other's point of view. But if you're always constantly screaming, arguing, and hating, and different, then nothing can really get done. And at the end of the day, this is all of our home. America is our home. And we all have to do better, or none of us do better, And it was just interesting to see. Then it also got brought up to the concept of welfare. And I said, well, I don't see why someone is on welfare more, for their whole life. I said, you have people abusing the system and using the system and on there for 30 plus years, but people who actually need it aren't actually getting the help. And, then this guy who was a liberal as well, he came up behind me and he agreed. And, he was saying the same thing I was saying. We feel like it should be a time limit on it. Also, we feel like the work hours restraint shouldn't be on there, because how do you expect someone to get up, get ahead if you're cutting off any chance to get ahead? And we were like, the welfare system is built to keep you down, period. And, me and him, I'm guessing from the way we were talking, we grew up around the same type of area, and we know people, similar people, not the same people, but similar types of people who have been on the welfare system, whether they're abusing it or they need it straight out. And then you had people who were more on the wealthy side of things, but they had, and they were liberal, let me say that, and they were on the whole, Then they took it to race. Oh, you can't just cut them off, them poor black people. And I'm like, well, first off, black people aren't the only ones on welfare. Let's start there. Secondly, I said, at some point, you got to kick the little birdie out the nest. Shouldn't nobody be living off the system that long? Like, there's no reason for that. You should be able to take care of yourself, because the thing is, people are getting mad that the government is like, for instance, one time, government shut down some housing. And people are getting upset. And this is one woman's got on there, I've been lived here for 30 years. And crying, and how could they do this? How could they take my home? Baby, that's not your home. That's always been the government's home. Always. And they can do with it what they want. And that's just how it is. That's why we push for independence. Because of the fact that the government can just take it when they want. And, when it was just nice to see me and a liberal on the same page here. Like, and at that point, it wasn't even a black and white thing. It wasn't even we understand how the system is. We met people in the system, and we met people who were doing everything that we're talking about, whether it's they really need it, not getting it, they're abusing it, and they've been on it too long. And the people who were, combating against us, and once again, all this was civil, by the way. Nobody argued, nobody screamed. It was amazing to see, honestly. And, we're talking, and none of them know anyone that, that is on welfare. Nobody, not even close. All of them had lived a very privileged life. So at that point, I think it was a class separation thing. So really, that also goes to show that a liberal, conservative, and someone in between, we can agree on different things. We can. It just all comes from what walk of life we're coming from here. And I think if we can come together and we can figure out a way to make this work, once again, this is our home. This is our home. And so we have to want to work together. And this screaming thing is not getting anything done. It's not. And I was just very thankful for the opportunity, and it feels like everybody, from the comments that was given, everybody was amazed by the opportunity. And I did it a few more times, but that one time really opened up my eyes, especially when it came to the free thing. We think of freedom in two totally different ways, and they're like, but the thing is, I had to explain to them, as a taxpayer, the government ain't got they own money. So if they're paying for something, it's not free. You're paying for it in a roundabout way. But I was like, this was great. I was like, I really, really enjoyed this, and I would love to do it again. I think there's another one coming up at some point, but, that was good for then.